I mean, community care was founded after the Spanish flu epidemic in 1919. So, you know, we came together because there was a lot of people wanting to do something. So certainly by the outpouring of support that everybody is feeling right now, that people are aware, because I think it's touched everybody.
You're watching Quarantine Catch-Ups, only on CorkScrewed TV.
Good morning, Betty Lou. How are you?
I'm fine, Ralph. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, I am adapting to this new reality. And how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. And as you said, it is a new reality, and it certainly is different. And I think you have to be nimble. And I think, as you said, you have to pivot, sort of like you did in the paper bag ball when you were dancing.
Don't remind people of that.
No, but that was so much fun. But realistically, I think that we have to be nimble and we have to be reactive. And I know we're all learning as we go. And I know the government has certainly made some changes, and they change. And in all due respect to them, they have to be nimble as well. And they have to ensure that they're meeting all their needs, and they have to go through a lot of hoops. So what happens on Monday sometimes changes on Thursday. So
Yeah.
You have to be able to do that, and you have to be responsive, not only to the needs of the people, but to the needs of the funders and the community at large, because the community at large gets a little confused when you say, okay, this is what's happening today, but we're all learning. This is new for all of us.
Exactly. And you know what? I'm glad that I'm not the one who has to make all the decisions on what we have to do, because there's a lot of hard decisions.
I don't think people realize how challenging the decisions are to make, and we need to support these people. And it's great to see the province working with the federal government. And I think that sometimes these decisions are very difficult. I know I have to make decisions every day, and I know that it concerns me because of the impact I'm having on others. But if I don't make those decisions in the best interest of everybody, it's difficult. And they're not easy decisions to make. And sometimes you're not popular when you make them, and you have to enforce them. And social distancing is a real challenge.
Yeah.
And what I did this week, I went out and I passed a pool store that was selling curbside, and I went and got a bunch of pool noodles. And they're only 4 feet, but you know, if you put a foot on each end, you know, you hand them to people and say, okay, pass the noodle test, right? And so that's kind of fun. So it's a fun way to remind people that they need to stay at least a noodle, a pool noodle length away. But you have to be creative, and you have to do it in a positive way. So people, you know, you can have a little bit of fun with it, you know, but I thought that was the most demonstrative way that I could do it. And so every morning when I send out my daily update, I say, could you pass the noodle test today? So, you know,
when you put it like that.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun though, but you have to do creative things to remind people.
And it's tough. It's tough for everyone. I mean, just things like my parents want to see my kids.
Yes, I'm sure.
And my mom always wants to sneak a hug, and it's like, Mom, you can't do that. And that's just a small example. Now you've got people that are in need, people that you deal with, people that are alone that just need they need support, and to tell them to stay by themselves and alone. And so let me back up for a second for viewers. We've been talking to winery owners and restaurateurs and chefs and talking to people about how they can get meals in takeout form and order wine online and 6-packs and gifts for Mother's Day. Your situation is very different. Mm-hmm. Your community care, St. Catharines and Thorold, deals with a whole lot of people with a whole lot of needs. And this has thrown a huge pipe wrench into your processes, I'm sure.
Well, we've had to adjust, and we don't have anybody in the building. So what we have to do is ensure that staff are safe and that clients are safe as well. Everybody has to social distance. Outside, we have the pylons, so everybody has to stay, you know, respect the pylons.
Yeah.
We have plexiglass shield that comes down so that just to protect the clients and ourselves. I mean, it's protecting both parties. It's not just a one-sided affair.
No,
and
exactly.
Everything is dealt with through this plexiglass screen. And we have a system now. We used to have freedom of choice. Unfortunately, we can't have people in the office right now. So we're putting together healthy, very significantly well administered hampers
Okay.
We bought from Feed Ontario, and then we add to that, we add the fresh produce. So we will have over 5,000 hampers from Feed Ontario, which is tremendous.
Oh, wow.
What we do is we open up the boxes and we put in perishable food, we put in milk, we put any of the extras that we have for people to make sure. So some people are having a challenge walking with them, so we're accommodating them as well. We have people that have offered to deliver, which we haven't had to do before. We're trying to make sure that everybody gets as much as they need, because, you know, the restaurant business isn't what it used to be, as you well know. And restaurant suppliers are giving us their produce that they have ordered and they can't use. So we want to make sure that it gets out there. And so we're giving as much of it as we can to people. And sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, but it's very positive for people.
Okay.
Because some of the stuff that we wouldn't have, that we do because of this catastrophic issue that's happening in the food industry, as you know, with the restaurateurs and things like that. So there's a two-edged sword for everything. What's bad for one could be better for others, and how you balance that off is the issue.
So for viewers that are familiar with community care, and they're used to being able to drop canned goods off at different events, community events, or making donations, what are you telling people who want to help out, who want to do something?
Well, certainly the grocery stores still have our bins, but they're a little bit restrictive. But you know what's really wonderful seeing is the food drives that are popping up in the communities. There was 3 people that did food drives yesterday, and they called it May the 4th Be With You.
Yeah.
On the 4th of May. And so in 3 different locations in town, Holly Mandula, Pam Isaac, and Joanne Tanias, they all had people drop off in their driveways, and they brought it down to us. So that was huge. So, you know, so the smaller ones. And a couple of weeks ago, a family had one in the North End, and I believe the name was Inison, and they put their trailer in their driveway, and and so people came and just put it on the trailer, and they brought it down. So everybody is being creative. I know there's another one coming up on Cherry Street, not far from where you and I live. So
okay.
Yeah, and people are just asking just to drop off. So it's a smaller food drives that hopefully will equate to some of the larger ones that we've had in the past, because what we generate now keeps us going up until Christmas. So we're very grateful. So it's not only what came in from Feed Ontario that we need, because I'm not worried about in the moment. I'm more worried about 3 months and 6 months down the road, because what is it going to look like when we get back to what's going to be a new normal, and people have lost jobs, and there's all kinds of different challenges. They're all getting, if they've applied for it, they get this curb, you know, the top-up money. But when that runs out, where are they going to be? And there's little pop-up feeding programs here, there, and everywhere, but they're not sustainable. So it's going to come back, and there's going to be a reliance on organizations like ours. And one of the advantages to community care is that being a member of Feed Ontario and Food Banks Canada, we have access to a whole national system. And when the federal government allocated their money, they gave it to people that had national networks, for example, the United Way, Food Banks Canada, those things that they had the ability to ensure. And we are the representative in St. Catharines and Thorold for Feed Ontario. We have criteria that we have to follow, accreditation piece, so people know when donations come to us. There's certain things that we all have to do. It's all health and safety and things like that. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think you do a fantastic job of public relations and making your needs known to the general public. So I think you'd be hard pressed to find people who don't really know too much about what you're doing, which is fantastic on your part. So congratulations, as always. You do a great job. I think one of the things that I've noticed, talking to our winery friends and restaurant friends, is there's been an enhanced or a reinvigorated awareness of community, of knowing what your neighbor does, and your neighbors that are also in need. And so when you talk about 3 months down the road, I'm hoping that one of the silver linings of all of this is that this awareness of our neighbors continues. And when we get back to this new normal, we're going to be aware of who might continue to need a bit of a helping hand and make sure that they get it.
Well, no, and I agree with you, and I think I mean, community care was founded after the Spanish flu epidemic in 1919. So you know, we came together because there was a lot of people wanting to do something. So then it came together and it spread out to make sure that everybody was treated equally as to the best of your ability. And you're quite right. You have to remember that there's always going to be these people in need in your community. And I think, certainly by the outpouring of support that everybody is feeling right now, that people are aware, because I think it's touched everybody. I don't think anybody hasn't been touched by some aspect either of job loss, sickness, God forbid they've received, you know, they became a victim of COVID. It's touched everybody. And so how we respond, so people are very sensitive. And it was really interesting yesterday, Ralph, when the kids came down, that they had been collecting food and they want to do it again next week, you know, because it was fun and they felt they were doing something. I had a little girl that she made a face mask for me. She made face masks and she sold them and brought down $30, and she gave a very special one to me, and it was sunflowers, my favorite flower. And you know, like, everybody wants to do something, and even the kids and the little kids, it's fun when they see that they've done something. And if you can get them to start doing things when they're younger.
Yep. Well, even my kids, they immediately, we did not have to explain to them that they needed to take this seriously. If anything, they were, you know, Mom, Dad, this is, you know, you got to socially distance.
Yep.
Oma and Opa can't come over. No, we can't have a play date, even though they wanted to. So they on their own were pretty diligent in understanding that this is, it's short-term pain for long-term gain. And that makes me hopeful for the next generation. I do think that we've got a good crop of kids coming up.
Yeah, and they're very, very in tune to what's going on. And I think there's a fair bit of anxiety with them too, and we need to support the young ones with the anxiety piece. And that's the other challenge that I think we're going to see the fallout in 3 to 6 months, is the mental health piece.
Yeah.
Because people that have been sequestered for any length of time. I'm not mentioning any that live near you that are probably ready to, you know, explode some days. But thank God we have a front porch to go on. But it's challenging. You know, a lot of people aren't used to so much togetherness. And I think that the togetherness piece has positives and it has disadvantages. So I really worry about the long-term effects on some of the people that like their distance and like their space, but also like to be with people. And sometimes I find some of the clients that come through the back, they just want to talk. They haven't had anybody that they can talk to. And I know I have a couple of friends who live alone, and I try to touch base with them as often as I can. And somebody said the other day, I haven't talked to anybody in 2 days, and that breaks my heart, you know.
Yeah, I can relate. I have some friends that are living alone, and we do try and touch base. I can't imagine. I consider myself very fortunate through all of this. You know, we've got a nice setup here at the house. You know, Jess and the kids and I, and we actually just got a puppy. We thought it was a great time to train a puppy, and so we're doing great. But looking outwards and staying connected on social media and staying connected, you know, electronically, reminds us that everybody needs different things, and to be mindful of that. So
most you forgot to say you had wonderful neighbors though too, didn't you?
We have wonderful neighbors. Yes, we do. You included.
But it's interesting that we Zoomed with our my daughter-in-law's sister's birthday was last Saturday, and they live in England. So we did a Zoom with the family all over from Toronto, and it was really fun to connect.
Yeah.
And to see faces. You couldn't do that before. Like, no. Well, you could do Facebook, but it's not the same.
Well, we did my dad's birthday over Zoom. So we had the whole family. We had my niece in Switzerland. We had my brother in Calgary, you know, my sister in Arkona and Toronto, and we were all together on Zoom for a good half an hour, and it was great. Yeah, and nobody had to drive.
But it's such a feeling. My husband said to me the next day, he says, that was really fun. You know, he was a little awkward at the beginning, but then he says, you know, I haven't seen them in so long, and, you know, just to touch base and you know, a lot of us are huggy types, but, you know, you give virtual hugs now, and as long as you know that hopefully the hugging days will come back sometime soon. But
well, I hope they do. I think when the hugging days come back, it's going to be a mess downtown because everybody's going to be out hugging everybody. It's going to be a big gong show.
Yeah, well, I think, but we have to be respectful. We can't move too quickly either.
Yep.
Like I think it's been demonstrated in other parts of the world. If you move too quickly, it can come back.
Yeah.
And I think we have to be controlled and do it and be patient.
So in the meantime,
stay connected. Yeah.
Yeah. In the meantime, you would encourage people to stay aware of food drives. Are you accepting donations on site, or is that something?
Yes, we have barrels at the back door, and then we have to isolate them for a couple of days, but that's okay. But we have barrels at the back door. We'll gladly receive them, or grocery stores.
Okay.
Know that we're following all the public health protocols and doing everything that we can to make sure everything is safe. So,
okay.
For sure. And just to remember community and remember others. And I think, as I said to the kids yesterday, when you put your head on the pillow tonight, you'll know some little boy or girl is sleeping a little sounder because of you, because you made that extra little effort to ensure that they had a full tummy when they went to bed.
Yeah, even if it's a few dollars or a jar of peanut butter, all these little things go a long way. Is there any specific items that you're running short on?
What we're having a challenge getting is baby formula, and so if anybody sees baby formula, please help us. We tried to make a major purchase, but we weren't able to. So we're trying to find if everybody could, some of these things have limits on them now. Okay. So that's the challenge. So if anybody sees any kind of baby formula, not the canned goods, we have lots of those, or the little baby jars, but the formula is most important. So, and
baby formula.
Yeah. And the other thing, peanut butter, which is a staple for so many people and so many families, that's one of the other ones. But just think about others and know that we can all do a little bit. And I think food drives give people the opportunity, like these kids yesterday, it gave them an opportunity to give back. And they were so proud of themselves. It was so fun to see, They had a little competition between themselves, and it's just wonderful.
It is true. It's better to give than to receive, they say, and there's no doubt about it. It gives you a good feeling when you can do something for someone else, and you make it possible to help a lot of people, and so we appreciate that. So we'll remind people to keep their finger on the pulse and to follow you on social media and things like Facebook and Instagram, so that they can stay up to date on anything that you might be short of. And then they can pick it up at the grocery store and leave it right there in a barrel at the grocery store. And that's an easy way to help. So, thanks for taking.
Sorry, Ralph. Every Wednesday on Facebook, we tell what our most needed items are. So we update every Wednesday. So it gives them the opportunity before they go shopping. So yes, and thank you for giving us the ability to tell our story.
Well, hey, I hear about it sometimes on the sidewalk as I'm walking past, and we have a minute to talk 6 feet apart. But it is nice to spread it out and remind people of what they can do to help. And so thank you very much for all that you do. And I look forward to seeing you. But we'll remind people here how they can connect with you and what they can do to help. And keep up the good work. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being who you are, because you guys are pretty special in the community too. You need to know that.
Well, we try. It's all we can do. We tried to come up with a vaccine, but after 3 days of scratching our head, we thought we need to apply our skill set somewhere else. So this is what we're doing.
Okay, good stuff.
All right. Thanks, Betty Lou. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.